All right, I'm Vanguard PT, and I'm going to be your guide for this. We're about to run a simulation to show you exactly how ethical hacking works from the inside. Now, let's be clear, this isn't some how-to guide for attackers, not at all. This is all about looking at how companies build a really strong defense. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first, let's nail down what we're even talking about. A penetration test, or a pen test, is basically a simulated cyber attack, and the most important word there is simulated. This is all legally authorized. You gotta think of it like a fire drill for your digital security, right? We're trying to find the weak spots before a real fire breaks out. So here's how we're gonna break this all down. We've got 5 key phases to walk through. We'll start with the mission and the rules of engagement. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of infiltration, simulate an actual breach, and wrap it all up with what I think is the most important part, the debrief.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the authorized mission. Because before anyone writes a single line of code, before a single port gets scanned, you have to understand the why behind the whole thing.
And listen, this is the absolute non-negotiable golden rule. Without explicit permission, a signed contract, well, what we're doing isn't ethical hacking anymore, it's just plain illegal. There is zero gray area here. Permission is absolutely everything.
So, what's the goal here? What are we actually trying to achieve? It's definitely not about causing chaos. The real objective is to find those vulnerabilities, carefully, and I mean carefully, exploit them just enough to prove they're a real threat, and then hand over a report with clear, actionable steps to fix things. The whole point, always, is to make the client stronger. Okay, on to our next section, setting the rules of engagement. This is where we basically draw the lines on the map. We define the boundaries of the test and decide how much of a head start we, the testing team, are going to get. This is where things get really interesting because you have 3 main flavors of testing. You've got black box, which is like us trying to break into a building when all we have is the street address, nothing else. Then there's gray box. Here, we get a little inside info, maybe like a standard user's login. It just helps speed things up. And finally, white box. This is full transparency. It's like being handed the complete blueprints to the building, every key, every code. It lets you do a super deep analysis. For our simulation today, we're going to stick with the black box approach. Why? Because it's the truest test of an organization's defenses from the outside. It perfectly mimics what a real-world attacker would do, starting from scratch with zero inside knowledge. Okay, now we're getting into the fun part. Section 3, infiltration and discovery. This is where the attack really begins. But it's not what you see in the movies. There are no explosions. It starts quiet. It's all about methodical intelligence gathering. The overall process is pretty straightforward. First, reconnaissance. That's just a fancy word for doing our homework and gathering info. Then, exploitation, where we actually simulate the breach. And finally, reporting, where we analyze the impact. You can see how each step just builds on the one before it.
So, in this first phase, what we're really doing is mapping out the entire attack surface. Think of it like casing a building. We're looking for every single possible way in, every exposed service, every web application, every potential entry point. And the takeaway here is simple. Every open door, no matter how tiny it seems, expands the total risk.
All right, section 4. This is the one everybody's waiting for. Simulating the breach. But I've got to stress that word again. Controlled. Everything we do from here on out is deliberate and measured.
Let me be crystal clear. The goal here is not to cause damage. We're not trying to crash servers or disrupt business. It's more like a surgical operation. It's precise, it's minimal, and it's designed to do one thing and one thing only. Prove that a vulnerability exists and show what the business impact could be.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Access proves risk, not success. Getting in isn't the victory lap for the tester. The moment we demonstrate access, our objective is met. We've proven the risk is real. That's the win for the client.
So once we have that initial foothold, the real analysis begins. We start asking the heavy-hitting questions. Okay, we're in, now what? What could a real attacker actually do from here? What kind of business impact are we talking about? Financial, reputational, and maybe the most important question of all, did any of the security alerts actually go off? Did anyone even notice we were here? And all of that leads us right here to our final section, which is, you could argue, the most valuable phase of the entire engagement, the critical debrief. This is where we translate all that technical hacker speak into a clear,
actionable roadmap for building a much tougher defense. A penetration test without a good report is pretty much useless. It's just noise. The report is the product. It's the entire point of the exercise. It's the deliverable that tells the client exactly what's broken, how to fix it, and why it matters. And a huge part of a good report is helping the client prioritize. We can't just dump a list of 100 problems on their desk, so we score everything. As you can see, we categorize findings as critical, high, medium. This lets the security teams focus their time, their energy, their budget on putting out the biggest fires first. This is such a crucial point, and it really separates a real pen test from just an automated scan. See, automation is great. It can find a ton of known individual flaws. But what a human does is find the path. Think about it like this. An automated tool might find a web server that's leaking its software version. On its own, that's a low-risk finding. Then, a human tester might realize that version has a tiny bug that allows them to upload a small file. Again, probably low risk by itself. But then, that human creativity kicks in, and they figure out that another internal system can be tricked into running that file. All of a sudden, you've chained together 3 low-risk issues to create a critical breach. That's something only a person can do.
So, what's the big picture here? What this all shows is that security isn't some checklist you complete and then you're done. It's a never-ending cycle. You test your defenses, you find the weak spots, you make improvements, and then you start all over again.
And with that, our simulation is complete. But you have to remember, for any real organization, the test is just the starting line. The real question isn't if you can be breached, it's what you do when it happens. So your defenses have been tested. The real question is, are you ready for what comes next?